Now, Comcast is trying to buy Time Warner Cable. Comcast is the #1 cable provider in the country. Time Warner Cable is #2. The merger would be gigantic. They would have near monopoly power. Luckily, they got the Schumer Boys on their side. Who are they? Well, Charles Schumer is, of course, a senator from New York. And he has received more campaign contributions from Time Warner Cable, one of the ones involved in the transaction, obviously, than any other member of Congress during the 2010 election cycle. Now, let's find out later if that plays into whether he supports this merger or not. And then one other thing that helps is that his brother, Robert Schumer, just won the, quote, Deal Maker of the Week from the American Lawyer. Why? Because he was the lead attorney in the Comcast bid to buy Time Warner Cable. He made that deal happen. Schumer Boys, I don't know, certainly know how to make deals happen, okay? When they go back to Chuck Schumer, they're like, hey, what are you doing, man? You said you were in favor of this deal. Your brother was declared the deal maker of the week because of this. He said, oh, I didn't know that. You didn't know your brother was the head attorney there and was the deal maker of the week for closing that Comcast Time Warner Cable deal? You didn't know that? Okay, well, you might not know the nitty-gritty of your sibling's life, but that's kind of a big deal, right? Especially when you're going to be one of the people who gets to decide whether that deal goes through or not. So what is Chuck Schumer's conclusion on the deal? Quote, seems like the Time Warner Cable acquisition will be a good deal for New York. Huh, is that right? Huh, who could have figured? Turns out Chuck Schumer's in favor of it. Now, after he got criticized for saying that ahead of time, especially given his brother's connection to this deal, he then said, well, I didn't know about the brother thing, and so, yeah, sure, I'll recuse myself. Yeah. Did I get caught? I got caught, didn't I? Yeah, I'll recuse myself, sure. Okay. Now, he's not the only one who's corrupt in this case. Let me show you how all this works, okay? The revolving door between government and the cable industry in this case. K. Dane Snowden was chief of staff at NCTA. You know what that is? That is the chief lobby for the cable industry. And what did he used to be in government? Well, he used to be the chief of the FCC's Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau between 2001 and 2005. Now, why is that relevant? Because the FCC is the one that's going to make the decision on whether to allow the merger to happen or not. Now, he used to work at the FCC, now he works for the cable guys. Interesting. And then James M. Massey is executive VP at that same lobbying group for the cable companies. And he used to be the senior Democratic counsel on the communications and media issues for the committee chaired by U.S. Senator Daniel Inouye, who's a Democrat, and telecommunications counsel for former U.S. Senator Ernest Hollings, also a Democrat. So that's the relevant committee. So they buy off the FCC, they buy off the committees, they buy off the people who are on those committees by giving them campaign contributions, they buy off their relatives by having them work on the deal, and once you leave office or you leave your government position, then they buy you after that and give you a whole hell of a lot of money for services rendered. But those aren't the most interesting cases of the revolving door. The most interesting case is Michael Powell. Now, Michael Powell used to be the head of the FCC. What is he today? He's the president and CEO of the National Cable Telecommunications Association, the chief lobbying group for the cable industry that he used to regulate. In fact, back in 2002, he's the one that reclassified the internet providers so that later it would become far more difficult to do net neutrality. He put them in the category where net neutrality was eventually overturned by the courts because of the category that he put him in. And then he gets a huge paycheck from the cable providers who make money off of getting rid of net neutrality. Wow, yet another coincidence. Amazing, who could have figured, man? This town is full of coincidences. Now, let's add to those coincidences. You know how much Comcast has given to members of Congress overall over the last 10 years? $7 million, okay? $7 million will buy you a lot of coincidences. And that's just campaign contributions. That's not the bribes they get afterwards, after they get out of office and start working for those cable guys. And where did they decide to concentrate the lion's share of their money, the place where they spent the most amount? Well, look at this amazing coincidence. It's a subcommittee on communications and technology, the same group that is going to eventually decide whether they get to do that merger or not. And to those guys, they gave over $850,000 in legalized bribes. Which kind of makes all of Congress the cable guys, doesn't it? You know how much of the cable industry they're going to have control over if this deal is approved? 1 out of every 3 American homes would be served by Comcast. So not only does that give them control over your homes, okay, but it also gives them control over who goes on cable. Because if you're going to do a new cable deal, a new cable channel, Comcast is going to say, hey, if you don't do a deal with me, you're not going to get into 1/3 of the homes in America, in which case you got no chance. They're the ultimate gatekeepers. They will become the one company that will by far have the most voice in whether anything makes it on TV or doesn't make it on TV. If you're knocked out of 1/3 of the homes, the finances probably won't even back you up. Even if the other 2/3 took you, which would be incredibly hard, you probably couldn't get the financing to be able to put that channel on TV. So it wouldn't be the government, it would be this private corporation that would get to decide what you see on television or not. But funny enough, it seems all the former regulators and the current senators, etc., seem like they're pretty excited about this deal. But it's okay, Comcast tells us. The impact on customer bills is always hard to quantify. We're certainly not promising that customer bills are going to go down or increase less rapidly. Wait a minute, did you get that? On the first day they were saying, this is going to be better for customers. Today, when it looks like they feel a lot more comfortable about their political position, they say, oh, did we say your bill might go down? Oh, no. Your bill's not going to go down. We won't even say that your bill won't go up just as rapidly or more rapidly than it's been going up. Gee, I wonder if they think they got monopoly power. So easy to buy Congress, man. You think we have real free markets? Conservatives, is that what you think? Free markets? No, this is crony capitalism 101, and they're rubbing your face in it. One more quote from Comcast. Frankly, most of the factors that go into customer bills are factors beyond our control. You're the one who designs the bill. You're the one who decides how much we pay. How could it be out of your control? Who's deciding it? Santa Claus? I mean, they're insulting your intelligence. They're basically spitting in your eye there. But they feel like, what difference does it make? You can't do a damn thing about it because we already bought Congress. They're our guys. They're the cable guys. Welcome to America. Now, gee, I wonder, do you think we should get money out of politics? I can't quite tell. Or should we just let the companies keep buying our government one time after another, and let them gain more and more control until we got nothing left, until we got no voice of dissent anywhere in the media? They've already bought off all the national politicians. Then they could shut down the media. Or perhaps we could fight back. What are you going to do? You're going to wait till after the merger? That's why we started a while back, man. You got to get up, and you got to get them now. This is not being anti-corporate. It's being pro-free markets. Every corporation, every company should have a right to actually compete and not have these guys buy off politicians and do crony capitalism. If you agree with us, whether you're a liberal, you're a libertarian, or you're a conservative, and honestly, on principles, on ideology, I don't even see how you could disagree, right? The only way you can disagree is if you've already been bought by these guys. If you agree with us, join us. Wolf-pack.com. Wolf-pack.com. Because if you're not doing anything to get back our democracy, then you've said, okay, Comcast wins, multinational corporations win. They will control everything, and we will lose our democracy, and I won't do a damn thing about it. Can't you at least pick up a phone and make a call to your state legislators? I mean, it doesn't take that much to fight back. From the day that the suffragist movement got into the streets and did their first march, and it was a long process before that, but from the day they started marching, 7 years later, they got an amendment to the United States Constitution saying that women can vote. Every single person told them it was impossible. How are you going to get the right to vote when you can't vote in the first place? You know what they tell us when we say we're going to fight back against multinational corporations and this incredibly corrupt Congress? They say it's impossible. Why? Because they don't want us to try. You never know what we can do if we try. We're in the middle of doing it now. We got 10 resolutions introduced in states across the country. We got volunteers in all 50 states. We've got over 10,000 volunteers. And they're mounting up and saying, we need an amendment. If we don't have an amendment, we lose the whole country. So what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and do nothing about it? And if you do, don't you dare complain later, okay? Or are you going to say, hey, I'm going to chip in however I can, whether it's becoming a member or it's actually becoming a volunteer or actually calling my state legislator? Because you know what? If you put enough pressure on them, the state legislators actually do take action. That's why we've got the 10 resolutions that are live. That's why we're close to passing several of them this year. You either take action or you don't do anything at all. And we're in the action business.